Welcome to the Inside the Sales Playbook show, where on each and every episode we dive into the actual sales process, the plays and strategies working for teams today. No high-level overview or fluff. We get into the actual weeds of what some of the fastest growing and most successful sales teams are doing today to drive revenue and grow their businesses. Now, we're sponsored by two different items. The first is by SalesKit. Now, SalesKit is the sales platform and SaaS product that I've been working on for over the past year. As a consultant as well as an author, I started working with some really fast growing teams that really struggled to get a handle on where all their sales information was. They had a litany of different Google Drives, and their Dropbox folders were a mess, and their sales messaging was spread throughout the entire organization. And that made their team really difficult to scale and to sell at speed. And so that's why I created SalesKit, the tool to help you organize your entire sales clutter, turn that clutter into an actual organized process where you can onboard, train, and accelerate your sales process. And our next sponsor is my book, The Raise Your Standards, The Definitive Guide to Building Seven-Figure Sales. That's my book that came out last November, was an Amazon #1 seller in 4 different categories. Now, you can get a free copy of this book if you go to www.getsaleskit.com. There's a little, on the top of the navigation bar, you're going to see a tab called Book, and you can go there and get your own free copy. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a sales leader, or if you're a frontline sales contributor, this is a book that's going to help you grow your sales, give you some real tactical tips, tricks, as well as mindset that you can help employ while you grow your sales and grow your business. Now, let's get on to the show. And I'm your host, Mark Evans, and today we've got Mr. Brian Hadley. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. I'm glad I got to be here today.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you. Brian is the sales training manager at Ingersoll Rand. So Brian, how about you give the listeners and the viewers some context? And so first, for those that may not have heard of Ingersoll Rand, how about you explain what are they, what do they do, and how do you help them achieve their mission?
Sure. So Ingersoll Rand is a large industrial company. When I say large, we have 30 different business units that function globally. We built air compressors starting in the late 19th century, and we still make air compressors, but we own Club Car, we own Gardner Denver, we own Champion. We make everything from the little air compressor that goes into a ventilator machine in an intensive care unit to things that they use in the aerospace industry. So very broad. And I work to do all of the sales training in North America across all of our business units, trying to function with our sales leaders and our sales people as not as much of a teacher as a facilitator and somebody who's helping them get better at what they do best.
Wow, I think there's a lot to unpack there, especially with the 33 different business units. And I want to get into a little bit about, all right, how do you even manage and begin with that? But before we get there, let's take it back kind of from the beginning. I mean, Brian, how the hell did you even get into sales? You probably could have done a ton of other things. I mean, why sales? How'd you even get in there?
Right. Sales started for me in the mid-'80s. I was asked by a friend at Heidelberg College to join him to sell books door to door with the Southwestern Company. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now, but I spent 2 summers selling books door to door, and that's when I learned I am good at this. It was the first thing I was really good at. Went right into it out of college, and I have been in sales literally since 1986.
That is awesome. Now, did they make you take the cold showers at the time with the books? Was that a thing when you started there?
Yes, taking cold showers was a thing. Having the things that you said to yourself throughout the day to keep yourself motivated and focused. The only thing that I've really taken with me from those days is my ability to coach myself. So I'm aware of what I'm saying to myself, and then also the power of habit. Those 2 things have stayed with me for sure.
I'm really curious about that because that's been something during the past couple of weeks, something I've been really trying to improve and not speak negatively to myself, as kind of crazy as that sounds. But how do you go through some of those times where we all probably hit those ruts? And this time I think is especially pertinent because a lot of people are still kind of in this weird unknown with 2020, with COVID, with maybe their kids are still, being homeschooled while they're trying to work. What advice do you have for people that may be going through a rut and may not be speaking so positively to themselves from your experience?
Sure. I would say that it starts for me with some actions I take in the morning. So I have a pillow next to my bed. So when the alarm clock goes off and I step out of bed, I have to step over this pillow in order to leave the bedroom, which causes me to stop and to pray for my knees. And that's the power of humility. And humility leads to gratitude. Gratitude leads to acceptance. And that puts you in a place where from the very beginning, at the start of your day, you're able to go forward with a spiritual mindset that keeps you from thinking that it's all about you and that you have to control everything. And if I start from there, that makes a big difference in my day for sure.
That sounds really powerful. So it sounds like that's really the first domino, that if you tip over that, everything else kind of, maybe it doesn't go perfect in your day, but it certainly goes better than if you had not done that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm also in a men's group called F3. So I work out with those guys 4 to 5 times a week. Those are all men, always outdoors, free workouts that really emphasize the importance of invigorating male leadership in our community. So I start off with a really good group of people, and that just launches me.
Yeah, I bet. That's got to be I'm sure when you get that, that's got to be just a great spark to your day. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it helps out a whole lot.
Well, let's get in. So one of the topics, Brian, that a lot of people are coming to me, and maybe they're talking to you about it, it's certainly popular on something like LinkedIn, is all about training and onboarding. And I'm really curious to get your perspective on what sort of influence can a sales coach and someone who's doing sales training have on onboarding and training. And maybe you could give us some insight into what does the onboarding and training process look like for a rep at your company?
Sure. So, next week, October 1st, it came up so quickly. I've got a group of recent college graduates. They're all going to enter our sales development program. They're all sales engineers. And I will not be able to do the in-person training that we did in the past at our beautiful Davidson campus. So I'm going to be doing things virtually. We will start with why. Long before we get to how to sell, what to sell, where to sell, and all of that. We're going to start with why, and we're going to, at the very beginning, create a level of, I don't want to call it accountability, but a level of engagement and entrenchment where they're going to know that they are really in this and why they're really in this. So one of the things we'll do is everybody will record a video using video, which will be their response. They will say what their goals are going to be for the next 30 days. And 30 days from now, they're going to watch themselves, talk to themselves about what their goals are. And creating that type of habit, creating that kind of momentum where you're coaching yourself and you're encouraging yourself will give you a sense of independence. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that everybody knows that they are not alone. And that's been so strategic in what we do, especially in light of COVID, is make sure people know that you're not doing this by yourself. You're not alone, even though you may not have been able to interact with your peers the way you want to. You're still not alone. And that's been a big part of what we accomplish.
Wow, that's awesome. I really, really like that. So it sounds like you're really dialing into, so before any techniques or tactics, or before they ever pick up a phone, write an email, so you're really going after that why. So why are you in sales, I'm presuming? Why are you at this company? And they film an actual video of themselves. Is that like a 2 or 3 minutes long or a minute long, something like that? Or what's
it's
usually?
As long as they need it to be.
Okay, as long as they need to be.
I extrapolated that idea from the first idea I had, which was with our salespeople last December, and I'm talking to them. Are you going to work real hard? Yeah, I'm going to work real hard. Are you going to work all week? Yeah, I'm going to work all week. Are you going to work on Friday? Yeah, I'm going to work on Friday. Are you going to work on Friday after 3 o'clock? Yeah, I'll work on Friday after 3 o'clock. What about on Friday, July 3rd, 2020? Are you going to work after 3 o'clock? And they still said yes. At which point they all wrote letters to themselves that they gave to me that I delivered to them on July 2nd of 2020 to remind them that they agreed to work on Friday, July 3rd until after 3 o'clock. Now, I don't know if they all did that, but just that reminder to yourself of what you've agreed to do, I think that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think especially for sales, we're in that unique profession where if you keep a promise to yourself, whether it's I'm going to work until 3 on July 3rd, or I'm going to make 50 calls, and if you keep that promise to yourself, I think you can really form those habits, as you were kind of talking about before, right? Those habits that lead to long-term success, not just the flash in a pan, hey, I have a little bit of success for a month or two, or maybe even a quarter or two, but really that long-term career type of success that I think we're all really after, and that type of level of success that brings true career fulfillment in a career like sales.
Sure. We talk about being fruitful instead of successful. So rather than yourself in that mode, where how you're going to measure yourself is what did you get for yourself? What did you do for other people? And how did you do it? And how can you put yourself in a position where the thing that you're really good at, you can do over and over and over again? And
That's
some of that
awesome.
comes to not making decisions. So, lay out your clothes a week ahead so you don't have to make the decision about what you're going to wear. We use scripts and templates. And one of the reasons we do that is to take away the need to make a decision about what you're going to say next, because you already know. Got to make sure it doesn't sound canned, and that requires some effort. But putting our salespeople in a position where we've developed already the best, most powerful message to deliver, your job is to deliver it and do it authentically, but not having to come up with every single word in the email, every single time I send an email.
Yeah, that's really important, right? And all of those little hurdles, much like our buyers, right? If we ever put a little hurdle in front of your buyer, chances are they're not going to do it, right? They're not going to opt out. And you're doing like the inverse with your salespeople of putting all the steps in place. So all they have to do is just go through the motions. They obviously have to put some effort into it, but all the barriers have been removed for success. I really, really like that, Brian. That's awesome. How do you know when someone is ready to either graduate from this training program or advance to kind of the next level of sales? How do you know when someone is ready? And what do you look for?
Well, I don't make the decision on my own, and I think that's an important part of our process. Our SDPs, as they move through the program, will reach a point where someone will say, hey, we've got something available. We've got a position that's opening. Who do you see that would be right for this area to do this kind of work in this market? I'll have an opinion, but I'll make sure I get other people that have observed the salesperson to jump in on what they've seen. A lot of what we're really looking for is your ability to self-start, to self-motivate, and to go the right direction when no one's looking. So we had a woman in Chicago that was one of our STPs, and her sales leader took maternity leave, and the sales leader that was responsible for her was in Milwaukee, and there wasn't a lot of interaction. And one day she just came in the office and called up the top salesperson and said, hey, next week, what's on your calendar? And he said, so, and she said, good, I'd like to ride with you and watch what you do. She scheduled the entire thing on her own. She didn't need permission. She didn't need guidance. She just went out there and she saw what she wanted and she took it. Now we encourage that even if it fails. So with our new salespeople, they will do really dumb things. But if they did a really dumb thing because of courage and intensity and motivation and momentum, we're going to help them through the really dumb thing. We'll learn the lesson, but we're going to encourage them to do the next dumb thing. And if we can get them, if we see salespeople that are going forward, they're making mistakes, but they're making mistakes really quickly and they're learning from them and they're not repeating those, that's an important thing for us. We're also very cautious of which one of those salespeople from the very beginning thought that this wasn't going to be that hard and that they had it figured out. Those are the ones we worry about most. Those that come in and they're a little scared, they're a little overwhelmed at everything, we're paying close attention to those people because they tend to be the people that long term are going to put in the effort, going to see the results, and then put the effort in again.
Wow, I really, really like that. I especially like the encourage them to do the next dumb thing. I mean, how great is that to have that freedom as a new salesperson? Because we've all been there, right? It's your first job, maybe your first professional job selling, and that phone can feel like 200 pounds. And I can't tell you how many phone calls and appointments and meetings that were almost sure sales I messed up entirely. But to have that level of freedom, man, that's got to be really empowering for a new rep.
Yeah, we try to move them quickly in that direction of make a mistake, make another one, make a mistake, make another one, keep moving forward. We like that.
That's awesome. That is really, really great to hear. Well, let's pivot a little bit to a sales playbook since this is the Inside the Sales Playbook show. I want to hear a little bit about what are some of well, first let's talk about, do you have a sales playbook? Do these new sales reps, do they get a sales playbook on day one, or is there a process that they actually follow?
So we do not have sales playbooks. We encourage them to use templates and we work with them to create them. And we have a learning module where we do that right now. We on a interactive Adobe Connect session, I teach a class about value propositions and I teach a class on social selling. We encourage them to do that. We don't have that ability for them to not just create a playbook, but create a playbook, improve on it a little bit, and have it be as their go-to thing that they automatically go to. It will be wonderful when we can get to that point. The big thing we're working on right now is learning in the flow of work. So what we don't want to do is to have a salesperson get to the end of the quarter and they've got this deficit. Let's say they're not being able to schedule appointments. And at the end of the quarter, we schedule them for the next in-person training, and we spend $5,000 bringing them to Davidson for me to teach them how to do prospecting. What we'd rather do is to see that deficit as soon as it starts to occur and to provide them with some tools that they can use right then. So that's where Playbooks will make a lot of good for us, is in that learning in the flow of work concept.
Yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense. I really like that learning in the flow of work. It's very analogous to other things we have in business, right? Where, hey, don't wait till the end of the quarter till it's a really big issue. Make those little course corrections. And that's where really, I think the most successful salespeople in businesses really operate in.
Right.
What, Brian, in your opinion, what's one thing every team, and so we're recording this in September of 2020. We've been through COVID. Seems like we're getting out of COVID. Maybe there's another ramp. People don't know what's going on. But what's one thing every sales team should be doing right now?
Wow. Reflect back on 2019 and figure out what you were really great at last year. So if you look at all the wins that you had in 2019, they had something in common. Look for those commonalities. Were your top wins in one certain category? Were they with a certain persona? Were they a certain size of project? Were they within 300 miles of your home and they were union facilities and your dad's in the union, so you had some kind of connection? Figure out what you're really fantastic at, and then go and look at what's available and see, is the thing that I'm great at, where is that available right now? And what's the highest likelihood opportunity I can move forward with? The other thing that we really believe in is having the ability to create credibility instantly. So we still use a lot of pictures. If our salespeople right now, when they are submitting a proposal, they include pictures that are brand name oriented. So if I'm giving you a proposal, I'm going to give you a picture of what Nike did in the same situation, what Coca-Cola did in the same situation, what Honeywell did. Brand names, people that had the same problem you did, and here was the solution they had. If we're in person, we're going to hand you those pictures, so you literally are holding on to them, and there's a tactile sensation that occurs. So we're keeping track of what are we great at, and we're building credibility from the very beginning. So from the very moment that we start talking, I'm going to make sure I'm dropping in the brand names of the companies I've worked with that had problems similar to yours, and my solution worked for them.
And this works, Brian, even in an industry like yours that is very hard goods oriented, right? Compressors, HVAC units, things like that. You're telling me that still works in those types of environments?
Yeah, we're taking on a project right now with one of our divisions that literally has 43 customers globally. And when a project comes up, if they don't get the project, they have to wait 10 years till the next one comes in. It's a very specific industry that they're working in, with a really intense design project. Gigantic money is to be made, enormous costs on the front end. And they want to have scripts. They want to build credibility. They want to know how to navigate organizations. So from a business like that to one of our divisions that sells air compressors to car dealerships, which are transactional sales, where you're moving and grooving. You're going into a body shop, selling a compressor. You're going to the next body shop. You're doing that again. In both cases, your habits are going to build your momentum. We're really big on being authentic right now. You want to create empathy. You want people to know, I'm there with you. I get it. You can't fake it. You really, if you're going to be cheesy right now, you're going to get caught, and it's going to be embarrassing for you.
That's a really good lesson that I think just about everybody could hear right now. So since this show, a lot of CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and sales leaders are listening and watching this. How could someone in that position, whether they're a CEO, a founder, or a sales leader, how can they use sales coaching more effectively to get the end result, right? To grow revenues, to increase business.
Right. I think the important thing has got to be being upfront and clear about what your expectations are, and then being upfront and clear about your feedback. So the common form in the past in a lot of coaching feedback was to say something good, then you say the thing that you have the coaching session for, right? Which oftentimes is a sandwich, and then you say something good again. So you create that sandwich.
Yes.
And the problem is people ignore the good thing that you said, and they don't really trust the bad thing that you said because you felt the need to sandwich it. So having some clarity to say to a salesperson, I need to talk to you about something I've noticed in your numbers. It may be a hard thing for you to hear. So we can do this at the time that's best for you, but it's important for me that I support you and I show you what I'm seeing. So when you think it's a good time, can we sit down and talk? 90% of the time, a salesperson is going to say, can we do it right now? And they're really going to be interested in what you have to say. But you've got to position yourself as a sales coach that you're willing to bring people feedback quickly and you're willing to sit there with them and go through it with them. Don't give anybody the position that, hey, you screwed up, this is yours to fix. Now, you may have screwed this up, but it's ours to fix together. I'm with you in the solution.
I think that really brings your last point of creating credibility and empathy to that situation as well, right? You're coming with them. You're not throwing this hot plate into their lap saying, well, now it's your mess. How about you go solve it? I really, really like that. I can imagine that that's a really successful tactic for whether they're new reps, that this is their first professional career, but does it also work with maybe more veteran and more seasoned reps as well? Do you get the same results?
It can. The seasoned veteran may be a bit more resistant, especially when the manager has less experience or is younger than him. And I'm also noticing that with sales leaders I'm working with that are women in a male-dominated industry, they have to really have clarity and purpose in their messaging. They can't hesitate. They can't say and ah. They really have to deliver directly. But the ability to be vulnerable so often can be helpful in those situations where you have that disparity. We're also learning the power of asking, the importance of asking really powerful questions. And our two go-to questions right now, when you get resistance to giving feedback, the first one is, what would have to be true for you to accept this feedback and make this change? And when you ask the salesperson what would have to be true, they're oftentimes going to give you specific things that would have to be true. And if you can show that those things are true, that's where you're going to get agreement. But the other one is to literally stop and say, what question would you like me to ask you right now? And that's a real powerful coaching question that you get to do with that more accomplished, seasoned salesperson. Chances are there is a question she or he would like you to ask, and they're going to tell you what it is.
Interesting. So when you ask that question, are they looking for a pat on the back in that situation? Are they looking for like a softball question? Or what's kind of been your experience once you ask that, hey, what question would you like me to ask right now? What usually comes out of something like that?
More than half the time, the question that they're going to say they'd like you to ask is, how can you help me right now? Top salespeople oftentimes will start feeling neglected because you don't spend as much time with them. And when you when you have a top person start sliding back, they know they're going that direction. They don't like it, but they'd like some kind of acknowledgement that they used to be a top salesperson. So they may ask you to show that you recognize what they used to do and what they're capable of. And that could be a powerful thing. But the other thing that we get told sometimes is people will say, how are you doing? They want us to ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on that I'm not seeing?
Yeah. So connect on more of a personal level as well. Yeah. I really like both of those. That's really great. I think that's a great transition, Brian, to wrap into let's close with the final five. So these are rapid fire questions. I'll ask them. You answer them. Sound good?
Sure. Ready.
All right.
Ready to go.
Give me your favorite sales book.
Wow. I would have to go with the 1 Minute Salesperson.
That's a classic. What's your favorite sales related movie?
Tommy Boy.
Yeah. Awesome. Mine as well. All right. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you first got into sales?
You don't have to please other people. You really don't have to dedicate yourself to trying to please other people.
That's a good one. Well, best and favorite purchase of 2020 under $100.
Oh, best purchase under $100 for 2020. First one gosh, you are stunning me right now. First one I would go with was the new cabling that I bought that allowed me to, it's got the gold connection. So my turntable is functioning with a lot less static. So that was probably my favorite one because I reward myself with music when I have completed a certain task. And then the next one after that, and I'm trying to be a bit more sales oriented. I haven't been able to use it as much this year, but I got a new suitcase. And I'm a lot more organized when I'm out on sales travel and I forget less things. Those were two things under $100 made a big difference for me this year.
I like that. And it looks like you've had a lot of successful rewards just looking by the background that you have with all those vinyl covers. That's awesome. And then the last question here, favorite follow on social media right now?
Favorite follow on social media, Rex Chapman on Twitter.
Rex Chapman on Twitter.
My favorite on Twitter. And then number 2 right behind that would be John Barrows. John Barrows is a really cool sales trainer, provides a lot of good stuff.
Awesome. Brian, where can our listeners and viewers connect with you if they so want to? Where are you most active?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn. I try to post at least 2 articles a month on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me right now, is just to find Brian Hadley, Ingersoll Rand on LinkedIn.
All right. I'll make sure we put that link in the notes. And that's Brian Hadley with Ingersoll Rand. Brian, thanks so much for taking us inside the sales playbook.
Sure. Grateful I could be here.